Welcome back to the Raven LeBeau podcast, where I am talking specifically about my narcissistic relationship with my ex of 7 years. We are getting into the point of where I went to see him for 7 days and how that went. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a drink, your favorite snack, and enjoy the content. All right, so we left off with dropping him off at the airport and how I felt about that. So now comes the day when I am supposed to go to the airport myself. So I didn't want to take my car to the airport and park my car and pay expensive car fees at the airport. So, where I worked at the time, I was able to park my car there and have someone drop me off at the airport. So, I did that. I went in, dropped my car off at my work at the parking lot there, had somebody drop me at the airport. Now, I was very nervous about going through security check at the airport because I had fake boobs on. I didn't know if the silicone in those things would set off the metal detectors or not. And I would have to explain all this, and I was tucked up down below. I didn't know what they were going to see in the scanners. I was very nervous about this. And I had talked to him about this um, the day before and a couple days before that about how nervous I was with getting on a plane with being trans at the time. And he reassured me that everything was going to be fine and, I wouldn't have any issues. I'd cruise right through the security check. Okay. I felt a little calm, after talking to him and like I could do this, kind of thing. And I, of course, went to the airport, like I said, that day. Uh, they checked my bag, at the front, put it onto the plane and everything. And I was like, okay, I'm good. So I had went and I had on a blouse for the top and I had on jeans and underneath it I had on stockings because what I had planned to do is when I got off the plane, I had planned to go to the bathroom and change into like a skirt and heels and everything because I didn't want to wear that on the plane. So I had, most of it underneath me, and then I had in my suitcase my skirt, well, not in my suitcase, but my carry-on bag. I had like my skirt and the rest of my stuff, like my shoes and stuff like that, that I wanted to put on. So I get on the plane. Well, before I get on the plane, let's go back to going through security check because it was not a picnic. Um, I got flagged, which I thought I was going to get flagged. I got flagged at security uh, for the security check. And I didn't tell him any of this. I just told him that I breezed through security because I didn't want him to worry or to have anything to laugh at me about. Um, which I should have told him the truth, but I didn't because I didn't think it really mattered. But I got flagged by security, and I had to explain to them that I am a transgender woman with fake breasts and tucked in down there because they wanted to know what was in my pants, basically. I'm guessing they thought it was a concealed weapon of some sort, but I don't know. But once I explained to them the situation and got patted down, I was able to go through security, but I was really embarrassed. Not gonna lie, most embarrassing part of my trip. Um, got through, went to the gate, sat down, took some deep breaths, after that, because it was just nerve wracking. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I hated it. Um, but that was that. And I was on the plane, traveling to where I was supposed to go to meet the person that had treated me like a booty call in the past. um, So I'm on the plane, I've got this time. I'm on there watching, movies on my phone, and watching entertainment, trying not to think about the flight, trying not to think about how nervous I really was, about being there and not knowing anybody there and not having anybody there for me just in case something went wrong. I was trying to ignore all the warning signs that were going, in the back of my head, like, please just stop eating at me. I want to enjoy this trip. But I probably should have listened to them. I probably really should have listened to them, but I chose to ignore them. Okay. Uh, which I don't recommend doing. If something in your body is telling you red alert, listen to it because it's probably right. So landed in his town, got off the plane, uh, went to the bathroom, got dressed up in my skirt, my stockings that I had already had on, took my pants off, put them in my backpack, my knapsack thing, put on my skirt, put on my heels, and I had to walk, to the car. And I was texting him while trying to walk to the car, pulling the bag behind me, and readjusting the bag that kept falling off my shoulder. So it's a nightmare walking through the airport. Let's just say that much. He's like, "Oh, I had to circle around. I'll be back to get you." And I didn't know how long the circle around was, so I'm waiting out there. You know, um, for like 10 minutes, I think, maybe less. But it felt like a lot longer than what it was. He pulls up and he gets out of the car, and when he sees me, he has this look on his face. It's like this child at Christmas time, when you're opening your gifts. And I felt, good. I felt warm inside, like, oh, he's happy to see me, you know, and everything. He took my suitcase, put it in the car. He opened the door for me like a gentleman. I got in the car, and it was great. I was feeling really good. I was feeling relaxed at this point. And then he gets in the car and fucks it all up. He gets in the car and he says, "Damn, you look so good. I can't wait to get you home and eat you up." And I'm like, okay, who do you call it is? And I was like, that's what you say after being a gentleman and opening the door for someone. Just because I looked sexy and I was comfortable looking cute and sexy, and I wanted him to see me cute and sexy and fun. I didn't want him to see me sexually per se, which is kind of how he saw me, but I was just being me. And I like to dress up like that, not like slutty sexy, but sexy chic, if you know what that look is. And so that's how I was. I was in a nice skirt, nice blouse with just regular stockings and a regular pair of like Mary Jane heels. And in his mind, that was a like come fuck me look, you know? And in my mind, it was just a sexy chic look that I wanted to show him and, basically show him that I missed him and that, you know, I wanted him to be attracted to me. I didn't want him to go full sex mode. I mean, I kind of figured that's how it was going to go. It's going to be kind of a sexual desire kind of thing because I was looking sexy, but that was not what my intention was. My intention was to be cute, sexy, chic. But in his mind, it was enticing, pornographic, and just wanted to fuck. That was what was in his mind. And it showed through his comment, but I let it go. I laughed it off, with a nervous laughter. I laughed it off. And we drove from the airport to where he lived. And we get to the house. He opens the door like a gentleman again. During the drive, it was a lot of conversation, just regular conversation, but with hints of sexual, because of the way I looked. Um, but the conversation was decent, and I relaxed a little bit, and I was like, okay, he's just really likes the way I look. That's the way I put it. He really likes the way I look. That's what I kept telling myself. So once we got to his house, he opened the door like a gentleman. He helped me out, because I was in a skirt. He helped me out of the car, so I didn't bump my head or fall or my skirt go over my head. So he got the bags. He brought the bags, to the door, and he opened the door, and he let me go in first, which this is not my house. Why am I going in first? Like serial killer kind of vibe, which was going through my head, but that shouldn't have been the thought that was going through my head. But I don't know why it was the thought going through my head. He should have gone first because it's his house, was the thought that was in my head. But the reason he wanted me to go first, that I found out very shortly, was he had on the sofa all this stuff, like gifts for me. And when I say love bombing, that was love bombing, which at the time I did not know what that was. I just thought he was being sweet, romantic, generous. And like I said, I did not know what a narcissist was. I did not know what love bombing was at that point. So I'm looking at all this stuff on the couch. There's like stuffed animals, which he knew I loved, like plushy stuffed animal kind of things. There was rope candies, those little rope candies. I forgot who makes them, but they are like a little rope that has stuff in the middle. Sweethearts, there you go, sweetheart ropes. And he had those. He had heels. He had bought me heels. He had bought me stockings. And this chain thing you put on your body. Now, those were all sexual things, right? But my brain wasn't looking at it sexual until I opened that box and found that chain thing that goes over your naked body. And I was like, what is this? I didn't even know what it was. But it's a chain thing that you put over your body, and it's like a little outfit, and it just shows everything, but it's just a chain thing. So then my brain said, oh God, all this is for sex. It's not for me, it's for sex. Which I soon found out that that's exactly what it was going to be used for. So as soon as we got in, there was no going to dinner, there was no nothing. It was straight to the bedroom, just straight to sex. And I was like, okay, I guess, it's been, a couple months, you missed me, but why did we just jump right into sex? I mean, I know I'm looking good and everything, but why did we jump right into sex? My brain is just not processing at the moment, just going with the flow at the moment. So, jump right into sex. There was like nothing in between, no food, no nothing. It was like we got in the house and we went to the bedroom. He didn't even give me a tour of the house. Let's put it that way. It was straight through to the bedroom where he had it all set up ready to go for sex. And I'm like, okay. And again, on the TV was porn, yet again. Transgender porn on the TV, yet again. That he had to turn on for us to have sex to. And at this point, I'm still dressed sexy, so he just lifts the skirt up, and pulls the panties down and does his thing while, I'm in doggy style. And I was like, okay, I'm not really sure what this is all about. I'm like, is this just a booty call? And I'm just here for a week worth of booty call. So we finished up. And I will be honest, there was a bit of a connection, I guess because of the time that we spent apart. There was a little bit of a connection, but it was kind of muddled and mixed in with confusion as to why we just jumped right into sex. Um, so I went along with it, like I did with a lot of stuff throughout our time. I went along with it. And we finished up. Then we got something to eat. I can't remember what it was that we ate. I think he had made something for dinner. I want to say it was homemade pizzas. I want to say that's what it was. And I think that's what it was. I can't remember exactly because my brain was kind of fuzzy because of the whole love bombing, the sex. My brain was kind of fuzzy. Didn't know what to think. But I believe it was homemade pizzas because he had sent me pictures of his homemade pizzas and stuff like that. And he wanted to impress me with his cooking, which was very good. They were very good. We had that. We watched Netflix, Disenchanted on Netflix, I think it was, the little animated thing. So we watched that and we cuddled and then we talked. And, he was like, oh, we got to get up early tomorrow because we're driving out to the coast. It's a long drive. And I was like, okay, it's going to be a nice drive. We're going to talk, and everything like that. So we cuddled and we went to bed. But before we went to bed, we had sex again. Um, and I was a little less nervous about the second time because I had been cuddling with him and we had been talking and we had been touching and I was turned on and he actually was interested in getting me turned on this time by hitting different G spots and stuff like that and making my body quiver. And so for me, it was very enjoyable that time. It was not performative. There was no porn on the TV. It was just me and him. And for me, I was enjoying it. I was getting something out of it. I was feeling the passion. But also, in there was a disconnect that my brain was not putting together. And for him, when he was in the process of having sex with me, he wasn't looking at me. It was like he was imagining something, which we've all done. We've all imagined different people or different scenarios and stuff like that, to get us to where we need to go. That's fine. But I didn't notice that much of the disconnect, but he did not look at me the entire time once he was inside me. His eyes were either rolled up or closed, and he was doing his business. And I don't, I didn't understand why he wouldn't look at me, or any of that. I guess, I just at the moment thought he was enjoying it so much that that's the way, he does when he's enjoying sex. I would later come to figure out exactly what that was about, which we will get into later on as well. Um, so after that, we went to bed, we got up early, packed, what we needed to pack to go to the coast. Um, and it was a long drive, but it was a good drive. We talked, we were lovey dovey in the car. We played trivia games in the car, and we had fun. And it was like we were bonding, we were friends. We get to the hotel after the drive. I mean, it was a long drive, and I really needed to go to the bathroom. And I hate using public bathrooms during transitioning because the fact that, I have to untuck, tuck again, and then I have to. My mind would say, oh, are you being clocked going into a woman's restroom? Are you making people uncomfortable? Kind of thing. Um, and I really hate using public restrooms anyway because of that whole thing about making women feel uncomfortable because that is not my goal in life. I don't like making them feel uncomfortable. So a lot of times when I'm in public, I'll just hold it till I get home because I just don't want to cause any problems. Um, but when I do have to use the public restrooms, I go in, I do my business, I come out. I don't go fix my hair, take pictures, or anything like that. I just do what I need to do and get out because I don't want to be uncomfortable and I don't want to have anyone else uncomfortable of, me being in there. But I really had to go to the bathroom and there was a mix up with the room or something. And I was like, I can't hold it anymore. So I was like, I really need to go to the bathroom. And I'm sitting there fidgeting. And finally, we get the room and we go and we have to go like upstairs. And I'm like, I've got to pee. I can't walk up these stairs. So I'm running up the stairs with a bag in my hand, a suitcase in my hand, trying to get to the door. And he's laughing the whole time, which it is kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of funny. I was like, oh god, I gotta go, I gotta go. And he's laughing, and I'm kind of laughing too, but I really need to go to the bathroom. And I got in, go to the bathroom, felt good. I come out of the bathroom. Now this is another one of those bathroom situation things, right? But I come out the bathroom and he's already got like the room set up. He's got his alcohol, his weed, all this stuff set up. But the bed's not set up for sex or anything like that. He just had all his stuff set up for, getting ready for sex. So we didn't jump right into sex, which was great. We walked down to the beach and I had on my fake boobs, of course, and I didn't really want to get in the water with fake boobs and all that stuff, all the bras that were on. But I did put my feet in the water, and the water was so cold, like freezing. And he went and got all the way in the water, and he wanted me to get in the water with him, and I thought it was so cute and everything. So I tried, but let me tell you, when that water it's like an iceberg, okay? My feet within 1 second were frozen solid. Okay, that's how cold the water was. And it didn't seem to bother him. Okay. And I'm like, okay, let me just try and get in there and be cute with him, because I've always wanted to be cute with somebody at the ocean. I couldn't do it. I'm sorry. I couldn't do it. It was too damn cold. I had to get out. I was like, I'm sorry. I tried. And he was laughing and we were having fun. And then we went back up to the room and we got cleaned up. It got the sand off of us and everything. We got cleaned up, but we made out a little bit, and then we went and got some dinner. And surprisingly, he took me to an arcade, which he happened to know is one of my favorite things to do. I love going to arcades. So I was on cloud nine. This trip was like the greatest thing ever. I was on cloud nine. Arcade, beach, everything. So, you know, he had some beers while we were at the arcade. I didn't drink. Then we went and had, you know, dinner afterwards. Because I think we went to the arcade first, then had dinner. Yeah, we went to arcade first, then had dinner afterwards. Then we talked at dinner. Great conversation, everything. And I felt so good. I was like, okay, maybe this is really going to be a relationship because he is doing things with me that I like doing. Well, we get back to the hotel room, and I am really, really turned on at this point because I've had a great day with him. There's been so much connection. We start, and we start with foreplay. Amazing foreplay. So I am all in for the sex. I'm all in. And I felt like the amazing connection, like there was nothing else in his mind but me. I had we had, started, and then we took a break, and he wanted me to put stockings and heels on, so I did that for him. I put the stockings, the heels on for him, and then we went back and did round two, and the whole time it was very much romantic feeling. There was so much connection that I was enjoying myself so much that I just let everything in my mind go. I let everything just be as it was, and I was in the moment, and I was happy. And I was very glad that I had come on this trip. So we finished our trip to the ocean. We were there for, I think, 2 days. I think it was 2 days we were there. We were there for the weekend because he had to be back on work on Monday. So we were there for the weekend. So we drove back. We had a great drive back, conversation, everything, same. Great. We get back to his house, and everything was good. We were fine. Everything was good. We continued talking. We continued cuddling and everything. And Monday, he went to work. Instead of taking the week off to spend with me, he went to work, which I understand. You have to work, you have to work. Um, but you would think if you're coming to stay in somebody's house, they would take the week off so that you're not in their house alone going through their stuff. I'm just saying. Not that I went through his stuff. Let's get that let's get that out of the way. I did not go through his stuff because I was trying to trust him. I was trying to build a relationship with him, and I was not going to go through his stuff. And so I was home all day by myself. He would text me all day. He would call me, whenever he had a chance to call me, like on his lunch or his break. He would send me pictures of what he was doing at work, so he was all into me. But come to find out, he was also on his phone with other people and talking to people that he wasn't supposed to talk to when I was there. Because at this point, we were not living together. We were just having time where I would see if I wanted to move out here, if I wanted to be with him, and that's how it was. So I couldn't really say anything about him being on his phone talking to other people. I just found it very disrespectful. I'm here to spend time with you, and you are on the phone with hookups and ignoring me. and saying, oh no, I'm just returning this text to my friend. Okay, fine, take him for his word. But the time that we did spend together, he wasn't on his phone all the time, but the phone would make its way in. And I brought it up once or twice, and he would say, oh no, I'm just gonna, record us having sex. Okay, that was another thing that I did not like. I did not like being recorded. I was not comfortable in my body to be recorded for sex. Okay? But I found out that he likes to record it so that he can watch it again, so that he can figure out what works for you, because it's all a production and a show for him. So he learns and critiques by watching your body. And I learned that later on, which we'll get into that more. But I learned that later on, that that's what he does when he records the videos. Not just for a spank bank, like most people. No, he studies them. So I was very uncomfortable with that. But I went along with it. And then he would play the videos back on the TV. And when I tell you, uncomfortable was not the word I would use for me. I wanted to crawl out of my skin looking at myself on there. My body, no. He would reassure me that it was gorgeous, it was beautiful, but looking at myself being plowed by him on a TV was not good for me. I hated every moment of it. But I let him do it, and I don't know why. To be honest with you, I don't know why. Maybe I wanted it to bring us closer together. Maybe I thought it was something that would bring us closer together. I don't know what I thought at that time, because at that time I was confused as, to why would you want to record this? We're just getting to know each other. But we recorded it, and then I figured out why he was recording it, and then he would put it on while we were having sex. So I was watching myself having sex while I was having sex, which is not my thing. Not my thing at all. But he really got into it, and he really liked it, and he was getting into sex more and more with me, exploring my body a lot more, turning me on like there was no tomorrow. And so my mind just let it go. Just let it go. Just let him video. It's the sex is hot. It's amazing. We're having this connection. So the week goes on, and we're basically playing house, where he goes to work and comes home, and I have dinner ready and all this stuff. Um, and it was nice. I'm not gonna lie. It was nice. It was nice having somebody who appreciated coming home to dinner and then having, sex, but it wasn't really having sex after we got into like this routine of him coming home, having dinner, us taking a shower together, and then it was more like we were making love than having sex. But still, it was kind of sex because it was being recorded, but you know what I'm saying. Um, I felt better, with it. I felt more comfortable with him, and I felt like he was really starting to really get into us and not just the sex. And so the week goes by, we're getting to know each other, and it comes to like the day before where I have to leave. And he's like, I wish you could extend your trip longer. I was like, I can't, I've got to be at work. But he tried to get me to extend it, trying and trying, oh, come on, we need to extend it, we need more time together. And I did want more time with him, but I couldn't lose my job. I had bills to pay, and I'm thinking, well, you are going to work the whole time I was here. So what is, the issue here, But eventually he's like, I understand, and whatnot. So I went, and it was the last day we were together, and I cooked him a really, really extravagant meal, something, to surprise him for our last day together. So I cooked him chicken cordon bleu with asparagus, garlic mashed potatoes with gravy, garlic bread, and fresh sliced tomatoes. And that was going to be our farewell dinner together until we saw each other, next time. And he loved it. He enjoyed it. he said was the best thing, amazing. And I felt really good. I was feeling warm inside. I was feeling great, that he appreciated my cooking, that he appreciated me, and that he liked me. So then we get to the night before. We kind of had sex, but it was not as amazing as it had been because I think it was because we were both sad that I was leaving. Um, and it didn't, it wasn't like it was before. It was good, but it was like this kind of like parting kind of sex, like it's the last time you're gonna have sex for a while kind of thing. And we laid in bed, and I remember him saying that, he was gonna miss me and that he couldn't wait to see me again. And I remember getting teary eyed because I felt at that point like he really was into me. Like he really did want to be with me. Like he wanted to have a relationship, build a life. I felt that. But in the back of my mind, yet again, the rationalization part of me was trying to take over and was saying, yes, it was a good week, but there's still some things there that should have been a red flag warnings. And in the back of my head, it was trying to get my attention. And I was ignoring it because I wanted that relationship. I wanted it. I did. And so we decided on the day that he drove me to the airport, and we decided that we were going to progress in this relationship. We were still going to have our year where we would sleep with other people and stuff like that. And I was okay with that. He was okay with that. That's fine. But as the year progressed and as, we talked more, the goal was for me to wait for, a certain time to move. Well, as we talked after I left, before I left, we talked, all right? We decided that that's what we wanted to do. I wanted to be here with him because he couldn't move where I was at because of his job. So I would move here, I would be with him, I would get things set up during the year, and at the end of the year, I would move here with him and we would start our life. Until then, of course, we would sleep with other people, see other people, date other people, whatever it was that we were doing in the meantime. So as I was getting ready to leave, he gave me a kiss and a hug that was not like the first time we parted. This was like a long hug, and like a hug where it said, I'm going to miss you, and that I really like you, almost love you kind of hug. I almost started crying. I had to get out of the car. I almost started crying, and then he got out of the car. He got my bag. He gave me another long hug, and he gave me a kiss goodbye. And I got inside. This time I had no trouble going through TSA. I thought I was going to have trouble again. No trouble going through TSA this time. Um, was waiting for my flight, and as I was waiting for my flight, I get a phone call from him. He's like, I just want to make sure you got through TSA okay, and that you're waiting for your flight. He's like, and I just wanted to let you know that I had a wonderful time with you, and that I miss you. I already miss you so much. And I was like, wow, okay. I did miss him, but it was not on the level that he was on. It was like I missed him and I was sad that he wasn't going to be there with me for a while. But I was not at that point where I was like head over heels for him. And the way he was talking was like he was getting to be like head over heels for me. And I was like, that's a little too soon. For me, it was a little too soon. And I was just like, okay, I miss you too, I can't wait to see you again. And we wouldn't see each other again until moving day. We would talk to each other and see each other on video phone calls and stuff like that. But until the actual moving day, we would not see each other again. And the actual moving day was supposed to be almost a year, and then it turned into moving out in November, right before Thanksgiving holiday, so that I could be here for the holidays because that's what he wanted. He's like, I want you here for the holidays with me, which, as you're going to find out later, is another one of his tactics, of his narcissistic tactics, because he can't stand to be on his own. He can't stand to be by himself. He has to have attention. He has to be the center of attention. And if he's not, there's an issue, which you're going to find this out later. But for right now, for this video, um, like I say, like, subscribe, message me in the comments below. And if you've ever had any of these experiences with narcissism, and if you've ever had any kind of relationship that's been bad or not. Until the next podcast, have a good day. Bye.